Hello, everyone. So, today is the second part of the Men's Mental Health Month series. I am tackling topics on Mental Health Mondays, and today's session is going to be on courtship and communication. Courtship and communication are those things that happen in everyday life, but when you add the layer of men's mental health and not understanding your own mental health, but also the mental health of someone else, maybe you're female trying to figure out like what is going on with him, and or you're a guy who knows what he has going on, but also may not know what he has going on. It's just like I feel a disconnect. I feel like something is missing. I need help. So that is what I'm here for. And so for today, I want to go over what the agenda will touch on. Of course, introduction. My name is Victoria Fields. I'm a licensed therapist here in South Carolina. I am very passionate about men's mental health and psychology. I want to advocate for men. I feel as if enough has been given to women and women's understanding and children, and people just trying to tackle those sensitive topics with those minorities. However, men are still the backbone of our society, and when one thing is unsettled and on shaky ground, then other things are unsettled and on shaky ground. So I want to make sure that we have a structure. I want to go into Men's Mental Health Month with an assistance for anyone who might need it, male, female, just anyone. So that is what I'm here for. And so what I want to also say is that with men, a lot of people don't understand that there are mental health issues. And you say, why focus on men's mental health? There are common stressors. Financial pressure, societal differences and expectations, what people expect from men in our society, what we think we were raised, the cultures from decades and your ancestors. Everybody said, well, a man doesn't do this or a man doesn't do this. What the thoughts behind fatherhood would be. What is fatherhood? And then you sprinkle in a little bit of men's mental health, because raising children can be stressful. But then when you have imbalance, or even your children may have a mental health issue, it kind of like collides with one another if you don't sit down, reflect, and get help, get the resources that you need. There's also the loneliness. There's trauma. There are sexual issues that might come in place, addictions, barriers to care that are out there. With barriers to care, we have shame, fear of looking at a man like he's weak, a man feeling like somebody's looking at him like he's weak, and then not feeling like he has a safe space. Nowadays, we hear men asking for their partner to be their safe space. The world is beating you up. You want to go to a relationship where you feel as if you're going to a relationship and that person is keeping you safe, that person is watching your back, that person has you. So that is your safe space. And then we look at the signs of danger that come with mental health. And signs of mental distress include anger, withdrawal, irritability, overworking themselves. If somebody is working like 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, not taking a break, what are they fighting for? What is the real reason? There are so many different reasons why our men are working as hard as they do. And we want to try to understand that. So the call of action for us as outsiders, as men, as brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, the call of action is to find those resources and do the research. Do the research on what is going on with you. Do the research on how to help your children, how to help your mate. Share those resources on social media And maybe even join a support group, somewhere, somehow, someone out there that is willing to help you. We have to understand that there are certain quotes you might hear. You can't pour from an empty cup. That is the idea that you give, and then at the end of the day, your cup is empty. You have nothing left to give. You have no soul left in your body. You feel so spent. The government has used you up. Your job has used you up. Your relationship has used you up. Your children, the church, your friends, even going out and, coming back with an empty pocket, you just feel empty inside. So at what point do you fill yourself back up with something that's substance? So part of what I would like to say is that we have to do better protecting you as a man, and we have to do better as recognizing the things that are coming along in your life that we need to support. And then you throw it all in there and ask for a healthy relationship. So with not having a healthy relationship, you don't probably know what it is that is a healthy relationship, because you have been in an unhealthy state of mind for so long. So I want to just take a moment to say what is unhealthy. Healthy communication is not putting someone down. It's not ghosting someone when you just don't want to talk to them anymore. Using sarcasm, which is easy to do, or avoiding feelings. Saying I just don't want to talk about it is kind of like putting a barrier, putting a wall, no different than ghosting and just disappearing. That is something that is happening more and more nowadays. People are finding the desire to just get up and go. That's not always the best way to do. So we need to look at what is healthy communication. Healthy communication is speaking from I statements, saying, today I did this. I don't feel safe with you. I don't feel like talking to you. I don't feel like you're listening to me. I do not feel like I am in a good mood. Can you back up? And then listening to understand, not to fix. So healthy communication on both sides is just listening, active listening. Some people will say, I think you're listening to me, but you're not hearing me. Or you're hearing me, but you're not listening to me. And that's more of that thing where, hey, babe, can you take out the trash? Is that the simple statement that was just made? Or was it, I can't believe the trash is full and you keep not taking it out, and what's going on? And all you heard was, babe, take out the trash. There's a whole statement around that. There's nonverbals and verbals all around that. You kind of will block it off at a certain point if you don't feel like you're in a safe space, or you're in the right mental space, or if you're full of anxiety, if you're depressed, if you're just not. It's okay for you to feel like, I just don't want to, not right now. Use the I statement. I am tired. I will take it out in a moment. Believe me, I will take it out. Confirming that. Setting and respecting boundaries. To set a boundary, you have to know what a boundary is. So if there's a sexual boundary, you can say pineapples. So easy. It's something hard that you just can't deal with. Pineapples. I have used that analogy in therapy where I've told people, if there's a situation where you feel as if in your relationship that person is crossing a boundary, like maybe flirting with someone in public, or flirting with a waitress, or doing something with the children that you had already discussed you weren't going to do with the children, use pineapples. Use cupcakes or muffins, or use something that will remind yourself and remind the other person, hey, that's a boundary you're about to cross. So make sure that you set the boundaries, understand what that boundary is, and explain in detail why it's a boundary, and then respect it. Sounds simple, but sometimes people have to keep going back to what those boundaries are in order for them to understand it. And then being honest about your needs. As a man, sometimes you feel like you might be overlooked. It's not important. It's about whatever she wants, and you give, and whatever your needs are not being met, and then you go sideways. There's no point in going sideways if you don't clean up what's going on right here. Because if you don't clean up what's right here, you're going to repeat the same thing going sideways. Or maybe that's okay with you, but you have to sit and understand, be honest with yourself, what your needs are, even when it's something that's hard to deal with. Because that is something that you just, sometimes you can't go back from, and sometimes you can. So an exercise that would be good for you to try, you could try it now, you could try it later, but the exercise is saying, for me to say, how would you tell someone else that you're overwhelmed without shutting them out? How would you tell someone else that you're overwhelmed without shutting them out? What is something that you do to let them know that you're overwhelmed, that you're anxious, that you're depressed, that you're irritated, that you're tired, you have insomnia, whatever it is? How do you tell someone something that is bothering them or going against what they want without shutting them out, without going left, without ghosting them, without, just shutting all the way down? So that is a question to ask yourself when it comes to healthy communication. So a tip for you guys, practice these things with your friends. How do you tell your friend that you're overwhelmed without shutting them down? What have you done in the past in your friend group, within your brothers, within maybe your male coworkers, that, hey man, I can't take this anymore. I just can't. And without shutting down, if it's so easy for you to do it with them, why is it not the same for you to do it with her? Why is it a trigger or a trauma or a shutdown that you can't talk to her about the same things you could talk to with the guys? So that would be a tip. Practice with your friends. You can also journal. Journaling has been very useful for all those rappers from back in the day, and even current. Some of the OGs who just like pen and pad and like to write. If you like to write, if you like poetry, if you like these things, why not journal your feelings? Turn your feelings into a rap, a rhyme, or a poem. Why not just get it out there? If you are not good with writing, there's actual video journaling that you can do. There's apps that you could download on your phone or your laptop or your computer. And you can do a video just like this and just be like, man, I'm so done. These are my thoughts. Don't let them be your final thoughts, but let them be your thoughts. Maybe something that you've always wanted to tell your mother or your father, something you wanted to say to your boss, maybe rehearsing for a job promotion or something like that. So journaling would really help with those tasks and those tough talks that you might have. And then talking and practicing with your friends, journaling doesn't work. How about going to see a therapist? How about coming to see me? There are so many different types of therapists out there. I think one of the most important things is for you to understand that there's no cookie cutter therapist. There's no old school. I'm sure you'll find an old cat lady therapist from back in the day or the Sigmund Freud type therapist. That's fine. But you'll also find, realistic, natural, any ethnicity, any country. They have virtual sessions. There's in-person sessions that you can have. There's so many different ways for you to find a therapist that works for you, that's out there. Just go on one of the websites, Psychology Today, Mental Health Match, my site, psychologyoflife.net. There's so many different ways to find. You can therapist.com or marriage.com. There's so many different ways to find a good therapist out there to talk to. So with courtship is pretty much the old-fashioned value of, you finding someone and you wooing them and you spending time getting to know who that person is before you have any kind of intercourse or make any serious plans for the future. You're just getting to know who they are. Little bit between what their favorite color is and what are their goals for the future, or do they want children. It's a time, some people know on the first date, they say no, and that's done. Some people will continue to go on through courtship, days, weeks, months, sometimes years before they end up getting engaged or so. So courtship and dating with emotional intelligence is something that's very important. Healthy courtship means intentionality, clear intentions, not just emotional or physical gratification. So have intention while you're dating. Not just saying, oh, they look good, I am going to go after it for your physical needs to be met. But remember, we're tying in this emotion and mental part to it. Make sure that they're not disturbing your spirit. Make sure that they're not triggering anything from your past or your past relationships, or they remind you of something you've moved past. Are you going to be okay going back to this woman who reminds you of your ex 2 times ago? So make sure that you're paying attention to the emotional and mental cues with that. Make sure during the courtship process, it is also going to have mutual respect and consent. Mutual respect is pretty much the way they talk to you, the way they treat you, the way that you guys blend together, and having consent through everything. Going on the first date and saying, hey, can I give you a kiss goodnight? Can I walk you to your door? Nobody really does these things anymore. It's just one of those things that nobody thinks about as much. But asking for consent to make sure that it's clear that this is where we're going to go, and not just basing things off of the sexual and going for it. Making sure you do not love bomb. Love bombing is so easy to do. It is one of those things where you get to know somebody and be like, oh, you like pets? Oh, I like pets. Oh, you like bulldogs? I like bulldogs. And then I love you. And then next thing you know, both of you guys are saying you love each other, but you really don't. You love the idea of loving each other, but you really don't love each other. Or if the sex was so good and you actually are believing that this is the person for you, this is it, because you just won the lottery, this is the person that you need to be with. Those are very, very important things. Making sure that you're not love bombing. Showering her with a whole bunch of gifts and money and trips out of town, and you're whining and dining this person with no substance. Make sure that you're paying attention to those things. Making sure you're dating from a place of self-worth, not fearing the insecurities that you may face. Because know yourself, know who you are, and know what you want, and what you can provide to her. You are worthy to provide anybody, anything, anytime. Know your worth. What women want emotionally, we want authenticity. We want to know that you're real. You're being honest. Honest. One of the biggest things, be honest. For over 20 years now, I've always been one to say, just be honest. What you want might be what I want. Who is to say in the courtship process that a woman would even want marriage or want children. Don't tell her that you want 3 dogs and a cat and 2 kids. She might not even want that, but she might feel pressure. Oh, he does? Okay, well, maybe that's not being authentic. People putting on makeup or wearing fake hairlines, or you're wearing fancy clothes on a date and you can't even afford it. What is your credit score? What is happening here? Why are we not being authentic with this? Be honest, because you can move people out of the way so much faster and find the person that you need to be with if you're being honest at all times. Make sure that you have an emotional presence and healthy boundaries. Like I said before, what are your boundaries? What are your yeses and nos and I don't think so's? So make sure that you stand firm on your word. Stand firm on your word. So when it comes to dating, there's an online culture where people are ghosting. That is a part of, I wouldn't call it a boundary, but it's one of those things. If you don't like something, if somebody bothers you, something happens, you ghost. My tip with that is, before you ghost somebody, write them a note, a paragraph, an email, a text, whatever, a phone call if you're finding them in person. Let them know, whether it's briefly or intently, you know what? This is just not for me, and these are the reasons why. I want you to think about it in this way. As a man talking to a woman and you leave, she will continue to make the same mistakes with the next man. And don't be like, well, that's not my problem. It's the world's problem. You just allowed the Tasmanian devil to go and disturb somebody else's life in hopes. And no, let's end the ghosting culture. Let's not follow into the social media pressure and the courtship process. And I want to be put on Facebook. I want to be on your Instagram. You're in a relationship with me. I feel as if in the culture that we have, either be on social media or be off social media. If you don't want your private life on social media, then stay away from it. Don't even go. Unless it's business related, stay away from social media. Don't fall into the trap of feeling like you have to show that vulnerability of your relationship online, because it's really not going to get you too many places. It's unsafe in a lot of ways. For you to tie in your mental health, I want you to understand that there are some very negative, very nasty things that could come from a public breakup. Depression, and you watching her live and her feed and her pictures, that can be hurtful. You looking at her ex-boyfriends or her ex-husband, that could be very harmful. So no matter what you do, I need you to protect yourself. I need you to protect your space and your peace. That is something very important. I would like to say that although we have touched on a lot of different topics when it comes to courtship and communication, remember these things. Take care of yourself. Make it clear. Use I statements. Be honest and authentic. And don't just leave. Give a good exit so you can be done. You don't want to come across them in a grocery store or anywhere else. Or if somebody knows somebody who knows her, clean that up before you move on. So these are my tips, some of my tips when it comes to courtship and communication. Just be honest with yourself inside and be honest with them while you're living your life. And I hope and I pray and I know that things will get better for you. So stay tuned for more dating series coming up. Thank you.